Hello, my name is Leonard. I'm the game director at Point Blank Games. We are a young team of 7 people based in Berlin, developing our first title, Shock Tactics, for a year now. Shock Tactics is a turn-based strategy game where you explore a newly discovered alien planet and command a squad of up to 6 soldiers through tactical combat. We load a save from the mid-game, so we have some good equipment and an interesting mission to show. The player is a space pioneer and lands with the first wave on the newly discovered planet, where humankind has found the first traces of a long-dead alien civilization. And now the whole universe is in a gold rush and everybody's heading to that planet and wants a piece of the cake. We start out on the world map and start exploring it with our ATV. And when we find excavation sites, we claim them and start digging the artifacts and resources from the planet. But every time you build up a site somewhere, the Imperial Consortium will send troops to intercept your resources. So you basically always have to fight for your stuff. But the Imperial Consortium is like the epic enemy of the Free Space Pioneers, only has scouts troops on the planet. And you see that in 140 days, the invasion fleet will arrive. So the first phase of the game is about building up strength to withstand the invasion when the Imperial Consortium finally comes. So we'll just drive over to one of the missions that we want to show and hop right in. The core of Shock Tactics is the tactical combat. We want the player to spend 80% of his time in the tactical combat and only 20% on the world map and in the base building. So we want to basically keep him fighting all the time. All the mechanics in Shock Tactics are geared towards aggressive maneuvers. So we try to build all the mechanics around these concepts. For example, we use action points instead of only 2 actions, so you can move each unit 1 field at a time if you want to, but you don't have to. And this gives us the possibility to implement an interrupt system. So when you spot a new enemy, your soldier will stop at the square where he spotted it, and you can rethink and you keep the rest of your action points, and then you can change your decision. We will see that in a moment. When the player lands in a mission, you always have enemy contact within 1 turn. You always drop right into the action. This is one of the core concepts of Shock Tactics. And when you start the mission, you always have to have a look, like, what is the tactical situation, what's my strategy? We see we have contact with the consortium troopers on the other side of the canyon, and we can see that reinforcements are going to land on our side of the bridge in 4 turns. Also, our allied soldiers are pinned down on the bridge, and the guy in red is a mercenary that we can recruit if he survives the combat, so we have to keep him alive. Now we know if we have to go to the reinforcement points of the enemy within 4 turns, or our allied troops will be squashed in the middle. So now we keep some people, like the sniper and our tactician back here, to keep the firefight going, so they won't join the fight at the bridge, and we send our stormtroopers that have the most action points to the bridge to intercept the reinforcements. Okay. We used headshot on this guy because in the first turn they don't have cover, so we can deal way more damage, but it's harder to hit. But because he has no cover, we still have a good chance. Okay, this was the second guy that is not in cover. We had a pretty good chance to hit him too. This is 1 down, this is pretty good. So this is the Imperial Consortium sniper unit. They will have an insane range, and if you got spotted once, they can target you through half the map. They take 1 turn to aim at you, and in the next turn, if they still have line of sight, they will true shot you and mostly kill you. So you have to completely break the line of sight. It's not enough to just go in cover. This is one of these mechanics where you have to really understand the map and then move behind higher objects to completely break the line of sight. The good thing is, like, when you don't get it right at the first movement, you can still correct, because we use action points where you can move square by square. Okay, we put our sniper in position behind the large stone, so he is in a good spot to half flank the enemy. So this enemy is in cover, but because we have a very steep angle to him, the cover isn't as effective. We have low cover and high cover, but they both have the same bonus. It's about how hard you are flanked. And the lower cover, only 1 meter high, will be flanked by height. So if you hide behind a low railing or a crate, and the enemy is like 10 meters above you, your cover will be height flanked. When you stand behind 2 meter high cover, flanking only works by flanking over the side as usual. So we storm forward, trying to keep in cover with 1 heavy guy and 2 of our breachers. We have 4 classes. Now the snipers shoot into the stone because we got into good cover where they don't have line of sight. It's totally working out to have the heavy near the railing, so the troops don't move towards the bridge but are pinned down here, and the sniper can take pot shots on range. We have 4 classes: sniper, breacher, tanker, and tactician. So the breacher is the fast guy. He doesn't have a lot of hit points. He can't really shoot very well, but he's really fast. So positioning is crucial for this guy. The tactician is like has some team support abilities and is like the jack of all trades. He has pretty good accuracy on this range too. The tankers are really bad at shooting. They are slow, but they have a lot of hit points. So we gave these guys the heavy armor. Now we're using hail of bullets to get 2 guys doing AoE, and these are good damage. But with the cover, it's really hard to deal good damage. Now the tactician can take some good shots, but the accuracy isn't that good. So we will use mark target to increase the accuracy of everybody attacking this enemy. Though this is most effective when we have like 4 to 5 guys focusing on this target. Our breachers are, as you see, a lot faster. This sometimes causes problems because the tankers can't keep up, so you always have to manage how to move your team. We do not have gear restrictions, so you can, in theory, put a heavy armor on a sniper, which is absolutely valid. Is that they have very few hit points, and sometimes it's hard to position yourself in a way that the enemy can't force attack your sniper. So, but normally you want the first heavy armors to be on your frontliners, though, so they can soak up the damage. But it's basically up to the player. You can make really interesting builds this way. You can make a sniper, for example, with a mobile armor that really moves around the map and teleports to interesting spots from where to snipe. So in this case we have on our breachers we have offensive armors with offensive abilities, and on the tactician we have a mobility armor, and our 2 tankers have heavy armor, so a very classical setup. The sniper has a laser rifle, so we have 3 damage types and 3 hit point types. It's always the shield is damaged first, then the armor, then the life points. And laser weapons are most effective against shields, plasma weapons are most effective against armor, and explosive weapons are most effective against life points. So the sniper normally always shoots first when he has a sniper, when a laser sniper rifle, and then you follow up with, for example, explosive or armor piercing. Now we bring our breaches in position to make a nice trap for the reinforcements, and we have to get our heavy armor guys out of the way of the snipers again. These guys are pestering you all the way, especially in this situation when you can't get on top of them because there's a huge canyon. They are often in very high elevated positions, hard to reach. That's basically the point of the sniper positions, but it's always extra satisfying killing these guys. So we're down the front line at the start, and then we have to catch up with the rest of the team. We have 2 primary weapon slots, so the 3 different damage types. You always have to think about, do I want 2 different damage types with the same weapon type? So do I want close range? We have SMGs, close range, and sniper rifles and assault rifles. So you really have to think about your primary weapon composition. But now we will try to finish them off. 90% isn't that good. Yeah, it's like a good situation for the sniper. The other guys are basically there to keep them in the firefight. So now we will use one of the most powerful armor abilities. So this is one of the enemy IC tankers. He's invulnerable to the front 90 degrees, which is really hard in some situations. Now we can easily position ourselves behind him and then use Gunslinger with a laser rifle. So we attack every enemy in sight. This is an insane damage boost. And now we can combo this with a second Gunslinger with an explosive rifle, finishing off the hit points of the enemies. So we have a really nice situation set up here. Okay, that worked out like a charm. Wonderful. So we expanded 2 of our most powerful abilities. You can only use these once per mission, but it's totally worth it in these situations. They are real tide turners. Basically, the gear is also the main focus of progression in Shock Tactics. So you're on the planet to get the alien technology and get as much of the alien technology out of the planet as you can and build new gear, weapons and armor with it. So the armors all have special abilities that basically are the most powerful abilities on the battlefield. The weapons always have a lot more damage that is very specialized, so they give you new possibilities to manage your damage output on the field. So the first weapons you build with alien technology are still valid at the end of the game. The same goes for the armors. They just give you new possibilities to play. The Tactician has the Warper armor, which we will show a little bit later, that allows you to teleport and around the map and attack enemy targets. So our guys are still holding out. The mercenary is looking good, but one of the FSP soldiers is almost dead. But they're not our main focus. If we keep them alive, we get a nice bonus in cash, but we really want the mercenary to stay alive so we can recruit him, because this is the only way we can recruit new soldiers into our team. If you at the start of the game, you really have to get these missions done and keep them alive, or you are stuck on 3 soldiers. So at the start of the game, this is a really important mechanic. On the world map, we also have several outposts that you can permanently control that give you resources per day, but these missions are basically a little bit harder than the normal missions, so you really have to think when to do them. You want to do them early to get the daily rewards, but not too early so you don't get crushed. They also act as fast travel spots for your ATV, so you can manage the next missions and the exploration more efficiently when you have outposts where you can like fast travel to. Okay. Our heavy has established a foothold on the bridge, basically buffering our mercenary from the enemies. Another thing is that we calculate every bullet as a single shot. So when you shoot with a machine gun with 5 bullets at 70%, each bullet gets that 70% chance. So it's a much more natural feedback. It's very unlikely that you miss all bullets, which is totally possible if you don't do it this way. And then you can like shoot 10 bullets and it's 90% and every bullet misses. Okay, the one guy got shot down. Well, that was coming to him. Basically everything in Shock Tactics is catered towards aggressive gameplay. This is what we wanted to achieve. It's like we want a turn-based game where you can play as fast or as slow as you want, which is basically the core of turn-based games, but still every turn there's combat, every turn there's something happening. No 30 turns and 60 minutes clearing empty warehouses where nothing's happening. You always drop right into the action, you're always in combat within one turn, and then it's about managing a constant firefight over the whole course of the map. So when you land there and start shooting, every enemy on the map will know you're there. There's no activating small groups. They will converge to your position and get into defensive lines, and it will be harder to break the enemy when you are too cautious. So when reinforcements, for example, is one of the most important things in how maps are structured in Shock Tactics. So you always have to look at your allies of approach and the timings of the reinforcements and think about where can you breach the best. And if you just let them reinforce freely, often you face a lot more enemies at one fortified position, and it gets much more costly to break through. So the overarching goal is always to kill everybody on the map and secure the base or the sector. But the way the tactical layout is structured and how the reinforcements work and the different enemies and sniper positions make all the difference in the tactical approach of a map. Okay, we're taking some fire on the bridge. That's not too bad. Okay. We'll need to find a good spot to get out of line of sight of that sniper next turn. Okay, the rest of our team will try to catch up. The other shield bearer of the Imperial Consortium will be probably harder to take out than the first one, because he's sitting there on the island and it's hard to flank around his shield. Okay, he rebroke the line of sight. Now we'll use the warp ability of our Armor of the Tactician. This works in a way that we shoot 3 beacons against walls that we can see, and then we will teleport to each beacon and attack the closest enemy, and we will stay at the 3rd beacon. So we'll pick 2 spots where we can shoot at an enemy, ideally flanking his cover, and then a good end spot where we want to be in a tactically advantageous position, or use the 3rd to teleport back. So now we're placing the beacons, and then we start teleporting. Okay, we'll flank the heavy. Nice, took out the sniper. That's pretty fortunate. Okay, let's get to the world map. Shock Tactics will be available with English, German and Russian voiceovers, and we have text localization for French and Spanish. Overall we have 40 missions in the game, which, heavily depending on playstyle, means about 20 hours of gameplay. And when we're on the world map, we'll quickly hop into the player base and have a look at the equipment menus and construction menus. The first thing I want to show you is the training center, where we can see the 3 player soldier class abilities in the top right. They're automatically unlocked, so you don't have to think about that too much at the beginning. They heavily define the class, how it's played, but below that you have 3 training slots where you can freely train abilities from the training center. So this is where you make your builds, like how fit your play style and make teams that work well together. So over the course of a game session, you can change the training abilities to fit the new equipment or the new team composition you want to try out. The next is the Tech Forge, where you spend all your hard fought for artifacts and decide what to craft with them, which type of weapon or armor, and then equip it for the next battle. That brings us to the Arsenal, which is exactly what everybody wants from an arsenal. This is where you equip your crafted armor and weapons to your team, have a nice look at them, and eventually make the armor customization, which is actually important for us, as we mentioned earlier. We have no gear restrictions, so you can have your heavy armor on a sniper, so you really want to have different colors for them, so you don't accidentally send your sniper to the front line. So, and we thought when we are at it, we give the player a free choice of color in the customization options, and a lot of different patterns, and the ability to make the material of the armor more matte or very shiny. So you can have this shiny, daring warrior look, or more the ninja style approach in customization of your armor. That basically sums up everything you need to know about Shock Tactics. I hope you like it, and have a nice day.